The fact that you have two is just perfect. It's really the perfect team when you have two students. You have a lot of practice, meaning the two of you are working together, and you have a chance to take a break. Because in one practice the tension builds up, and when you change, you rest. So two people, you're in luck, today's your day. Let's start with the Garunova technique. Because this technique is the most logical to date, it is the most hotel-like, because the secrets about it are not disclosed. They are received by students when they arrive at the post office. I will try to explain it all thoroughly to you now. We studied with Alexander, with Maria just recently. And I, as a professional who works in that field, I'm fascinated because I went there to find out what program she does Photoshop in, what program she shoots video in. But what I saw, it's real in our eyes, and we're doing these lips together that you see. I mean, it's all true, and it surprised me a lot. Impressed. Well done. She has put a tremendous amount of hard work into her job for 10 years now. She's put a huge number of clients through her paces. And the way she approaches her work, that's something I haven't seen from anyone else. I mean, it's so pedantic. She already has 1,348 clients, but she works with each client from start to finish. I mean, it's posted. 100%. No matter how tired she was, the end of the day, but she wouldn't let him go anywhere until she brought him to her. She wouldn't let him go anywhere. And this approach to work, I agree, that produces such gorgeous results. Because both practice and experience and the love of clients and such a category of love walks, which agrees, make as many drugs as you need, so much I pay. Because it's usually also a limitation for a cosmetologist to come in and say, I only have money for 1 milliliter there. And you realize that 1 milliliter will fail and there won't be that effect. And she's so trusted that you do what you say, it's what you'll do. And here she is for an hour, I mean really for an hour, well, with all her experience, all her baggage, she's doing the lips. And that's without the sunflower. The sunflower is done separately before that. So let's break down what she does for an hour right now. Before I get into the technique, let me tell you a little bit about how we're going to work with you today. You and I both need those beautiful lips, don't we? I have an assistant coming over to help take pictures. So when you do, you send it to me, we prepare a picture of it and take a picture of it. After teaching, during the week, pictures, videos I will embroider. All of these will work for you. Your job with Alexander is to do this good work. We have a few models who are on correction with their steam, princess. And then there are those who will come for the anniversary, for after lips. I want to say right away that Alexander and I have agreed that we will spend a lot of time on these beautiful lips, so that you will have a beautiful work with yourself. We will realistically do them well, yes, try to. Therefore, if they come initially, if we realize we're not going to pull them out, we do all the techniques we'll go through with you. If beautiful lips come in, we will work with them for a long time using this particular technique to get the most out of them. This line right here, this is the red border. It's red, isn't it? Although the red is transitioning to white. And this is the line that I got crooked. It's 1 to 2 millimeters away from the red border. I will immediately say the nuances, and they're necessarily write down in the technique of throat-used needles are not hand needles, not those that go on the mountain go 25 millimeters. Is the length of 30 same it is with us. Here is such a needle, quite long. Today, unfortunately, there's a real shortage of these needles, and you have to look for them in advance. Because we've been preparing for training in the last few days, but we haven't found them. Let's try both. Whatever you get, but we have 25, not 30, but 27. Only 30, right? Yes. That's the way it's gonna be. Next, with this bun, we don't just work it, we curl it. And this needle, we bend it like this. What do we bend the needles for? So that to the plane is divided. That is, we will not go deeper, we will not go upwards, but we will go parallel to the surface of the lip. That's a first. And two. No one's nose bothers anyone when curing lips. There are times when you are working and your nose gets in the way. To keep your nose out of the way, it's very convenient to get around this point. Okay, well, the most important rule, the golden rule in this technique. I will write one word that you will duplicate for yourself, frame it and always remember it. An hour is not because we're not clear on what we're doing there. An hour is because we're working very slowly. Very slowly, with a very thin needle, very carefully, we bring it all out. Okay, here we go. Our first injection will be right here. That is, with a 1 to 2 millimeters margin. And the direction will be from the center. These are the vectors. Very, very close together. We get 1 millimeter away from the red root at the top. Why are we retreating? Also for the help. The flat lips, when you look at the picture, they're here. Rise above the surface of the skin by about 1 to 2 meters. And nobody understands how to do it that way, do they? And that's what we're giving this wool here, by not using red glue. When we work with this point, this area will turn into a wool, which we will lean on. So, very tightly, with a fine needle. Since it's thin and long, you'll need to apply a lot of pressure. Especially here, when it's the very beginning, there's a lot of drug, we press hard, you have a lot there, and you can't squeeze it out. So, to keep the drug moving, watch out. And just like that, very slowly in and out. So it's not a separation. Fainting also used to work the separation, but it didn't turn out as clearly. Right now, it only works spot on, meaning it brings the needle out and back in, very carefully, doesn't break it anywhere in there, doesn't pull it anywhere. Here it goes right parallel to the surface of the skin and pulls back gently. Then he turns it around, and here we work on a confident technique, very carefully reaching the mucosa. Right down to the mucus. Yeah, down to the mucosa. Next, we do the same thing on the other side. We don't come in. It's a no-go zone here. Why? Because if we work with the centerpiece, we'll have. And when we work here and here we have worked on both sides, and we have this area, it is stretched, it gives even more flatness. So work on one side, the other side, and the spine stretches itself. We're not going downtown. We're not working here yet, either, so that beak isn't going anywhere. Next. When we've done some work in this area, we go and fill in the nooks and crannies here. Also vectoring, also from this point. In this technique, too, one of the nuances in ideally doing so is that there is no one visit limit. That is, there are times when you can see it's going well, the drug is going, and we are short of 2 divisions, or 3, or another half, different things happen. So ideally you set your work up for that kind of technique. They come to you, they show you the picture, and you explain, okay, and you're ready. If anything, you're going to be there to pay. Dr. Garunova has a separate syringe at the beginning of the day that she allocates just for the remainder. So she adds from it to the head syringe as much as she is short. Wraps it around him, then to the next one who doesn't have enough, adds it too. I mean, this syringe is working, well, it better be. An extra person, there, plus 2 to 3,000 will add, but this balance will be of high quality. Well, I'm sharing to tell you all the secrets, she does the correction right away too. How does she come to this? She has a very high flow of clients, she doesn't have the ability to have so many come to her every time for correction. So she does the procedure right away, and she corrects right afterward. How to make the correction, I'll tell you later. So people leave and that's it. They don't need to come back because everything is already even, it's all his. Next, another one of the secrets is working with saline. Saline, what do we need it for? If in the process of work you got hypercorrection, or a woman came already with a fiber, and she has a lot in one area, for example, and you realize that the planes aren't going to get her as pretty as she wants. Here's an option to work with saline. That is, the insulin syringe is filled with saline. And hypercorrection is made to that area. Also in the correct technique, saline is carefully injected. Just work it in there real good, stretch it out, tuck it in. By the end of the procedure, by the end of the day, this is the area that's hypercorrected, it evens out. So even if in the process you see that, oh, something I'm going to take the most there, you have to look at it. Well, we'll have to see. What's my point? Because it's in lieu of re-education. Because so many specialists now work with biorevitalization, when there is hypercorrection, when some were more, some were less they dilute at first, but Lidaza can give unforeseen failures that you didn't want, but they kind of turned out. What to do with the next is unclear, and saline will not give such failures, but this large volume of drug will distribute. And it'll make it smoother. So is this before the filler correction or after? You'd better do it first and then see if you need something, of course. What if she came in with a filler? Well, you should see that saline is not a cure-all. So if a woman has, as you can see that beautiful, we did one layer, then we go through a second layer, third, fourth. The school's points may vary slightly. They can move aside a little bit. But your whole direction is going this way. Absolutely not in the center. Does the depth change? The depth. Well, like, she'll physically change on her own. So you're going to be in the same place. I mean, rig sandwich. Yes, this is the one we're just laying him down. Not from the bottom up, but from the top. See, the first layer when you go through, you put the filter in there. In the second layer, you'll go in the same place, but physically needle. The needles will already stir the filter that's in there. And it will move a little bit into another cavity. So don't think about it. Also do just the second, third, fourth point. You're 5, aren't you? Yes. Next. Lower lip. The lower lip is done sitting down. Imagine, that's how she is. Sitting down, right? She, the client, is sitting and you're standing. So, this is the center of our forehead. We'll back off a little bit here, like 2 millimeters. And vectors at us will go like this closely, such a corset to create that the form turned out such batik, that is the bottom lip should be rounded. Here we form a band from above and from below. Here we form this groove very, very tightly. We go the other way the same way. On the lower lip too, several layers are performed, as many as necessary. From the top point, we transfer the projection to the lower meadow. And we get the next point. And from this next point we still have a fan going. Next, we have small fans on the edge, just to pick up the sponge, again in the form of a bow. Tiny, tiny. On the center, we have donor bands, we are already applying it. And touches like this to wrap up this fight. Here we have the injection point and the red border. That's where we come in between. And a belusicle, that's just a corner that's semi-resistant. You don't be afraid to overdo the spice because it will come down over time. So we make it as sharp as possible because it will come down and it will be just right. That is, we inject small Botox into this area, half a minute at a time, just to give such an effect. It will be very good if you make and take a picture directly, it will be immediately visible. And pull us down. That is, from these points, from our initial points, we go along the contour and give back such a bolus peptic. One way in center. Downtown, in the middle of nowhere. So that this hole, we didn't work in the center, but at the end we kind of recreated by adding a small pull here. So, how is the correction performed immediately after the procedure? We ask Cage to smile, she smiles, her lip tightens. And we immediately look at where there are dips, where there are bumps like this. You see, you fill in right away. That's just during the correction, during this phase. Then you can make adjustments. You can, but in 7 days. Let's do as Dr. Garunova instructs and do it right away. So immediately she smiles. You look where the failures are, where the creases are. You correct it all at once. If you need saline to dissolve hypercorrection, it's right into this pilot. Do the dips go in a fan, too? The dips, yes, all the fans are there. Here's a correction, for example. If, for example, you have some incomprehensible roughness here, it means that we will work carefully here. Or saline or fighter. If there's not enough, then we fighter it out. If it's hyper, it's saline.